How APINK is keeping second gen alive. Hey guys, I hope you're doing good. Sorry this video took a bit more time than I thought to put out. This is one of the longer videos I mentioned, so I hope you enjoy it. Today we're going to be talking about one of my casual faves, APINK. More specifically, talking about how they're almost single-handedly keeping second gen alive. Since this is my first time meaningfully talking about them on the channel, I wanted to start by talking about who they are. APINK is one of those groups whose importance in K-pop becomes clear the longer the industry keeps moving. Debuting in 2011 under A-Cube Entertainment, APINK entered a landscape that was competitive, fast-moving, and not particularly kind to girl groups that didn't constantly reinvent themselves. From the beginning, they were positioned around a softer, more innocent image, something that, at the time, set them apart, but also put a clock on how long people expected them to last. In their early years, APINK became synonymous with the pure concept era of K-pop, aka Christian horse girl music. Songs like No No No, Mr. Chu, and Love weren't just popular, they were defining. These releases dominated charts and music shows, cementing APINK as one of the leading girl groups of their generation. But what's important to remember is that this success came with expectations. The industry often treats concepts like innocence and softness as temporary phases. Because of this, many assumed APINK would eventually hit a wall. Instead of crashing into that wall, APINK slowly walked around it. As the years passed and trends shifted towards darker, louder, and more performance-heavy concepts, APINK didn't abruptly abandon their identity. They took their time. Songs like I'm So Sick, and Dum Da Dum marked a turning point, not because APINK suddenly became something else, but because they matured in a way that felt natural. The innocence gave way to elegance, confidence, and emotional complexity, allowing them to stay relevant without chasing trends. This gradual evolution is a huge part of APINK's career trajectory. They didn't rely on shock value or drastic reinvention. Instead, they trusted longevity over immediacy, choosing consistency and growth rather than constant reinvention. Another key factor in APINK's longevity is stability. Even as members pursued solo music, acting, variety appearances, and long periods without group comebacks, APINK never felt fragmented. Their returns were spaced out, but intentional. Each comeback felt like a conscious decision rather than an obligation, which gave their music much more weight and purpose. Now, more than a decade into their career, APINK exists in a unique space. They're not rookies, and they're not operating purely on nostalgia. They're a veteran group that understands their audience, their strengths, and their limits, and that self-awareness is what allows releases like RE Love to feel confident instead of defensive. I don't know if it's RE, Ray, I don't know, I'm sorry. So let's talk about the album. Love Me More. Love Me More is genuinely gorgeous. From the very first seconds, the song pulls you in. Namjoo and Eunji absolutely devour the intro, setting the tone immediately. This track perfectly encapsulates the essence of APINK, sweet, soft, and romantic, yet undeniably mature. It feels age-appropriate in the best way possible, fitting for a group that's grown alongside its audience for 15 years. The instrumental really surprised me in the best way. The incorporation of new jack swing elements adds a subtle groove that contrasts beautifully with the song's more delicate atmosphere. It boosts that sense of nostalgia without feeling dated, giving the track a warmth that feels familiar but still fresh. But let's be real, the vocals are the true highlight here. They absolutely ate the melodies and hooks, elevating the songs from really good to genuinely special. I have to give a shout out to Eunji, Namjoo, and Bomi, because the way they carry the choruses is stunning. Eunji's high notes in particular feel effortless and emotional, adding to the song's dreamy quality. There's something about Love Me More that feels like a winter dream. Soft, comforting, and immersive. The melodies stick with you, the hooks are gentle but memorable, and the overall atmosphere makes you want to live inside the song just a little longer. This is an incredible title track and a powerful reminder that APINK's presence in the industry is still very much felt even 15 years in, especially given the recent music show win for it. I missed my girl so much. 10 out of 10. Fizzy Soda. Fizzy Soda brings a completely different energy to the EP. It's a high-energy, old-school hip-hop influenced track centered around the intoxicating, addictive rush of intense love. Lyrically, it's confident and direct, with lines like "Put your body on my move," "Keep in your own rhythm, match it just like that," inviting the listener to keep up with their pace and energy. Musically, it blends fast-paced grooves with hip-hop flair, creating something that feels nostalgic yet polished. and overall, I do really like the song, but I also can't ignore my slight disappointment. The intro immediately caught my attention with those horns, and for a moment, I genuinely thought we were about to get a Latin-inspired track. So when the instrumental shifted fully into hip-hop territory, it wasn't bad, just different from what I had mentally prepared for. I was curious to see where they take it, but compared to the rest of the EP, this track feels a little bit less cohesive. It's not a bad song by any means, it just doesn't hit me the same way the others do. The rest of the album feels so unified in tone and emotion that Fizzy Soda almost feels like taking a sip of your friend's drink to try it, but realizing you actually prefer the one you already had. I don't know if that analogy makes sense, but that's exactly how it feels to me. 8 out of 10. Would order again, but at another time. Birthday Cake. Birthday Cake is pure sweetness. The song revolves around themes of gratitude, excitement, and that fluttery, almost childlike feeling of falling in love. APINK frames love itself as a gift, repeatedly comparing a special person to a birthday cake, something you look forward to, something that makes a moment feel celebratory and adds joy just by existing. Sonically, it blends early 2000s R&B influences with a modern polish that feels incredibly natural for them. It's warm without feeling dated, nostalgic without leaning too heavily on the past. The lyrics are playful and affectionate, using birthday imagery in a way that feels charming rather than gimmicky. Lines like, "It's blowing up like a balloon, my whole heart is so full of you," and "Always like a gift, babe, you're my special thing," perfectly capture the giddy, almost overwhelming rush of affection. My one real complaint with this track is its length. Clocking in at just 2.5 minutes, it ends right when I fully feel immersed in it. It leaves me wanting another chorus, another bridge, just a little bit more time to sit in that feeling. But honestly, the vibes and vocals are so good that I almost forgive it entirely. The harmonies, the softness in their delivery, the way their voices intertwine, it all feels incredibly comforting. Listening to this makes me feel young, in love, and excited to see someone who means everything to me. And that's a feeling APINK captures beautifully here. 9 out of 10. Sunshine. If Birthday Cake feels intimate and sweet, Sunshine feels expansive and hopeful. This song is all about moving forward, finding the courage to step into a brighter future, and believing that something better is waiting on the other side. There's a refreshing band sound layered throughout the track that gives it an almost cinematic quality, paired with emotional yet delicate vocals that never feel overdone. Lyrically, Sunshine speaks to leaving behind fears, doubt, and even childhood memories, and choosing to walk towards something new. Lines like, "You're my sunshine in my life," and "Let's embrace the dazzling sun" reinforce the idea of renewal and warmth. It's comforting, but it's also quietly empowering. What really makes this song hit is how grand it feels. There's a steady build throughout, like it's leading you somewhere meaningful. And when it gets there, it delivers. Eunji's high note in the bridge genuinely took me to another plane of existence. It's one of those moments where everything clicks. The message, the instrumentation, the vocals, all aligning at once. The result is this uplifting, almost cathartic experience that left me smiling by the end. Once again, the track is short, which seems to be a recurring theme on this project, but unlike Birthday Cake, it doesn't feel quite as abrupt. There's so much emotional payoff packed into the runtime that it feels more complete, even though I wouldn't say no to another 30 seconds. 10 out of 10. Truly a ray of sun. Hold My Hand. As the closing track, Hold My Hand feels like the emotional core of the album. This is a classic traditional style ballad that serves as a direct letter to the fans who have stood by them for over a decade. It's about gratitude, comfort, and the desire to keep walking together no matter how much time passes. The arrangement is beautifully understated at first, built around a piano melody that allows their vocals to take center stage. As the song progresses, it grows into a grand, timeless ballad that highlights just how much the members have matured vocally. There's a sense of nostalgia here, but also reassurance. A promise that the connection they've built isn't something they plan to let go of. And vocally, this feels like a victory lap. Everyone sounds stunning, confident, and fully in their element. Eunji once again completely elevates the song, taking it to emotional heights that genuinely gave me chills. And then, Bomi's ending high note comes in and I was absolutely gone. This is hands down one of my favorite ballads I've heard in a long time. Not just because of the message, but because of how perfectly they deliver it. It's sincere, emotional, and deeply moving without ever feeling forced. I will never let go of their hand. 10 out of 10. Final album thoughts. Overall, Re, Love is an exceptional release. But honestly, that's exactly what I expected. Every APINK release I've heard has been polished, intentional, and vocally strong, and this EP is no exception. From the production choices to the harmonies, everything reflects the confidence of a veteran group with real longevity. Do I wish we got a full-length album to celebrate their 15th anniversary? Absolutely. They deserve it. But at the same time, I'm incredibly grateful we got anything at all. This album feels like a heartfelt gift. Not flashy, not trend-chasing, just sincere and beautifully executed. And that feels like the perfect way for APINK to mark this milestone. One of the things that makes this album hit as hard as it does isn't just the music itself, it's who APINK are and what they represent in an industry that isn't exactly built for longevity, especially when it comes to girl groups. How APINK are keeping second gen alive. 15 years in K-pop is not normal. It's not expected, and it's definitely not guaranteed, let alone the consistency the girls have had throughout their career. They have put something out every year for the past decade and a half. Even if it was just a single, they put something out. Not many groups can say that. APINK debuted in an era where the industry was brutal in a very specific way. Girl groups were often boxed into narrow concepts, expected to peak early and quietly fade out when they stopped fitting whatever the current trend was. Many groups from their generation either disbanded, went inactive, or were slowly sidelined as newer acts took center stage. So the fact that APINK are still here, still releasing music as a group, and still sounding this confident and polished is genuinely remarkable. What makes their longevity even more impressive is that it doesn't feel forced. They haven't survived by constantly chasing trends or reinventing themselves into something unrecognizable. Instead, APINK aged with their audience. Their sound evolved naturally from youthful innocence to something softer, warmer, and more emotionally grounded without ever losing the core of what made them APINK in the first place. And that's something a lot of groups struggle with. There's a quiet confidence that comes with time, and you can hear it all over this EP. They're not trying to prove they can still keep up, they already know they can. The vocals are amazing, the harmonies are controlled, and the songwriting choices reflect artists who understand their strengths. This isn't music made out of desperation or fear of being forgotten, it's music made by people who are secure in their legacy. Another reason their longevity matters is how rare it is to see a girl group treated like veterans rather than a nostalgia act. APINK aren't just wheeled out for anniversary stages or throwback performances. They're still being allowed to release music that feels relevant to now while still honoring where they came from. That balance is incredibly hard to strike, and yet they make it look effortless. There's also something deeply emotional about hearing these songs when you've grown up alongside them. For longtime fans, this album doesn't just sound good, it feels like a shared history. Songs like Hold My Hand hit harder because they aren't hypothetical promises, they're backed by 15 years of consistency, trust, and mutual loyalty between the group and their fans. And even for newer listeners, APINK's longevity sets an example. It shows that success in K-pop doesn't have to be loud or explosive to be meaningful. Sometimes it's about stability, choosing growth over hype, and knowing when to evolve and when to stay true to yourself. In a landscape where so many artists are pushed to burn bright and burn fast, APINK stands as proof that there is another path, one built on strong foundations, vocal excellence, and clear sense of identity. And honestly, that's what makes Love feel less like just another comeback and more like a celebration of everything they've built and everything they're still capable of. Thank you guys so much for indulging me. This one was much more of a love letter to the girls than my usual reviews because I just love them so much. I've always had the intention of covering them on the channel, but I never got around to it. So I'm glad this album was the gateway to that. But that's it for today. Thank you guys so very much for watching. Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Click that bell icon so you're notified every time I post a video. Tell me in the comments down below which song was your favorite and are you excited for their future? Because with how consistent they've been, I can't wait to see what they put out next. Remember that I love you all so much, and I'll see you guys hopefully very, very soon. I'm gonna up my game so that I can upload more consistently, I promise. I'm trying. Bye!